Alright, so the Catchcan, I left this on here with the original fuel filter mount there. I left it on there just in case I was going to use it for anything, and if not, I was just going to drill it off. But so I kind of drew up a little, or I just kind of cut off a little template here with some cardboard. See, the top two holes are going to use the existing mount there, and the bottom two are going to be for the Catchcan. I put the intake arm, it's out of the way. You can drill into the firewall. EFs don't really have as many options as EGs do and such. They've got a battery up here, and they've got tons of kits that mount there. There is a Catchcan that mounts up in here. I just chose not to use that because I don't know how the intercooler piping in the future is going to be routed. This should be out of sight, out of mind. The only concern I have is it maybe jiggling a little bit, so I'm going to probably make it out of like 1/8 inch aluminum, and we'll go from there, and we'll see how it is in the future. So not exact, but pretty close. It's good enough. I mean, there's no real... I'll just lay the cardboard template out over it. I mean, it's pretty dang close. It's going to work for what it is. Could have probably went with some different designs, but this is what I'm just going to go with right now. So she's drilled up, deburred, cut out. All right. All right, so to attach the AN line, you should just, first thing I'm just going to start out with just grabbing the line. I put just some vinyl electric tape around the actual thing, just trying not to mark it up as much on both ends. If you did cut it or it already is cut, I'm going to take the tape off here. Not gonna lie to you, it's kind of a pain in the ass if you ask me this prop. So the fitting is gonna actually look together like so. So what we're gonna end up doing is separate the two fittings, whatever you're gonna use. Take this end, the tapered end, and it's gonna go onto the line. You're gonna push it up until it just hits the end of this counterbore here of threads. Now, some people say to put this in a vise and then just kind of jimmy and screw this in, however the case may be. I don't have a vise handy. So I'm going to basically just use my two hands here. So just gonna once you kind of just roughly get it on there started, I'm basically going to turn this because I'm screwing it on here and just kind of hold this and jimmy it back and forth. If there is an easier way, I'm unaware of it. So this is a little time consuming. I won't argue that. I'm trying to just give you a shot there. Once you get it, if this shows up on the camera, you'll see it's supposed to be basically butted right up against the end of these threads. Basically push it, it'll let it come into a stop. There's a shoulder right there. All right, now take some tape, just something, it doesn't matter, just some kind of something to mark here. We're gonna put it right on the back here, right on the bottom of where this fitting is, and the intention of this is, as you're drawing the next piece in, we wanna be able to see if it drew our line out at all. So this is basically just going to be a quick guide. If you end up having a huge separation between this tape here and the actual fitting, then you knew it drew the fitting off of the line, which we don't want. Take your other end of the fitting now. Just put some oil or just something, some kind of lube on it. Now here's where a vise would definitely come in handy, which again, I don't have one at the moment. So you're going to kind of get that in there. If you look on the inside, it may not be centered. Just kind of get it centered with your finger, tool, just something. Stick that end in there. As long as it enters the hose, it should thread in relatively easy like so right now. So there, it's getting kind of tight. See, I'm almost all the way there already. So now you could put this in a vise or something and then just grab a wrench and go on it with that. I don't have a vise. I just have two big crescent wrenches. So the tape is on there again just so I don't mar this. And if I do mar it a little bit, then I'm going to use some black Sharpie of sorts. Once you're on there, just kind of peel it off. You're probably going to have some residue. It's not really a concern. I can just kind of see it. I can just Google on it or whatever, get the residue off. Alright, so the fitting is screwed on the back of the block there. I got my cardboard mock-up plate here, and I put a 90 on the bottom here, which is where the line's going to be going to. You can see that 90 would be able to, I just got to move the line a little bit over to the side here. I just got one hand. So what we're going to do with the 90, what I'm going to do now is put some tape where I feel like I should cut, and then I'm going to cut in the center of that tape. So there it is. I just put some tape on it so you get the idea. I'm basically just kind of roughly lining up the center of the tape here with the back of this fitting, which where the hose is going to go. And now we're going to cut it. All right, so overall here's the mount. Just painted it black. Got on with some little fasteners. Nuts on the back. All right, so underneath the dash, there's the wires coming through. These three will tie in individually into the fuse box as far as either lighting. Two of them are lighting, and then one of them is, I want to say, just power 12 volt ignition. The other long one here is going to be going through the dash, one of the holes there for the oil sender unit. It's just kind of just sitting up here. It'll kind of be, that's kind of bright with the sun, but gauge clusters, the hood is just sort of sitting there. And the gauges are going to sit like so. And the wires will just feed back there. So now I just got to pull them all out and loom them up. Right, so here are the three of them in there. I just got the old Predator here, just tons of wires, so I'm going to loom them individually. The PLX gauge, I just kind of put some red electrical tape around it so I could just press it in there so it's just a nice firm fit. We're going to do them all individually loomed. We're going to do groups together, but other than that, they'll be individually loomed. All right, so they're all wired up. You can see I did them all individually and threw in one bigger loom and routed it down. Added connectors to some. Some I'm going to wait and put them in the car, and I'm going to end up basically putting a two connectors. I actually have a plug on it so I can disconnect it easier. That way they're not permanently wrapped into the ignition source. All right, so the gauge clutcher's installed, the hood's on. I got to tighten the two back screws, but the two fronts are in, and that's where the gauges will be sitting. The mallets just on top of it, just kind of helping the weight of the 3M double-sided tape kind of kick in. It's kind of dark down here, I know, but nonetheless, all the wires are down here. I just got to route those to their respective places, but I really like where this is sitting here. It's kind of nice, and the CRX dash is already angled like sort of towards you a little bit. Kind of like what people like in Supers, and they call it like it's a rocket ship, how it kind of is angled to you, or a jet, a fighter jet, I should say, not a rocket ship. But yeah. All right, so for the gauges, people sometimes just shove the wire from like the gauges into the fuse box. They tap into lines. I'm choosing to do this little method. Basically, it taps into your fuse box. Put your fuses up in here. And then here's your new power wire. So you don't have to splice in any existing wiring. This is easy, just pop it in your fuse box and you're good to go. So in my case, I've got two gauges that have lights. So I'm going to just essentially just add two wires to this. They're both run off the same fuse. Some may agree with that, some may disagree. I'm just going to start by some wire. I've got these little connectors here. You can see I already took the backing off one end. It's pretty simple, just grab one of them. You can leave it on, there's nothing against it. I just end up melting it half the time, so since I'm soldering, just pull it right off. It's gone. Discard it. So now I've got two, so I'm going to basically make two coming out of this line here. I'm essentially going to wrap this around, add another connector, and add one coming out of that. So I'm essentially just going to solder this right to the top of it so I can have two lines coming out of it. Show a little more back. Before I solder anything, every time I still make the mistake, and I've been doing a ton of wiring. Test fit your heat shrink, find a size first already, and then put it over the line beforehand. Alright, so essentially you can see I've kind of got this end just kind of crimped on there lightly, and I wrap another wire right around it. And I've got my heat shrink down here. I'm going to try to solder all that together right now. I don't have a third hand, so this has pretty much been my third hand, just kind of resting the iron on some wood. A little weight so it's harder to move it. There we go. It's one good joint now. It's all one piece. Alright, so that's basically what it's going to look like. I'll heat shrink that in a minute. Now I'm just going to come up here, add another connector right there. And essentially, there we go. So this piece is going to go in the fuse box. 2 fuses will go in there, basically one for the gauges and one for the actual whatever spot I'm taking, which I'm going to be taking the headlight fuse. And there's my 2 connectors now, basically. This might be kind of hard to see, but I'm going to shine the light on it. Alright, so there you can see that's the speedo cable. It's all right there. The speedo cable is there, and then right above it I tied in 2 grounds. The 2 grounds are for 2 of the gauges. If you were to follow it up here, there's a right there. There's another ground that I kind of just tied in there. And then I've got the power, everything's all loomed coming through. And then there's where I put those, tie-ins. You can kind of see they're right there and there. So this one over here is for the ignition. When I turn the ignition, this is the wire to go to the wideband. This right here is for the oil pressure or the boost gauge, one of the 2. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but it's for the, if you follow these 2, they both tie into each other, which ones I just showed you. And it goes right there into one of the headlight low beams. So I want to turn headlights on, those 2 will get power. The other ground is up there, and the other 2 grounds are over there. And this is the one for the wideband. Alright, hopefully you can hear me over the construction that's going on out there. So this is the, depending on what part comes clip, I said I had the power wire going to a 12 volt for the wideband. That was a lie. It's actually for the oil pressure. So this is the power wire for the wideband. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loom, I don't know, I cut a piece, but I'm going to loom, you know, let's say roughly that much, heat shrink it down, and then I'm going to individually loom each one of these. That way the wire can go to the fuse box, and this ground I can connect anywhere. I guess I could cut this down. They gave me more than enough length, but I'd rather keep this, and I can always, with the loom, I can always, you know, wire it up, or curl it up, or whatever the case is behind the dash somewhere, just in case I ever want to move this thing some other place, or whatever the case may be. I just have the original wiring still for it. So get some kind of lighter, some kind of heat or something, just roast the ends a little bit there. They'll start to fray out a little bit, but it'll kind of harden them, and it'll help it as you try to put it over things. And then, if you haven't watched the wire tuck video that I did, you kind of just, it's like a Chinese finger trap how this thing kind of works. So granted, these 2 wires are a little stiffer, and they're just going to probably go through here real nice. See how far we can go. Alright, so it's kind of stuck, so I'll find where it's at, pinch it with this hand, push with that hand, and as I pinch it, I'm going to grab the actual wire on the inside. And just keep doing that. Alright, this end is all heat shrunk up. I got a big piece right there. That's going to, I'm going to join these together with it. And then each wire is individually wrapped. Don't forget to put your heat shrink on each end there to get that in there. And then I slid some heat shrink down there to actually do this part to the terminal. Alright, I'm just going to solder these up. This will be the ground for me, so I can put a bolt through it, you know, attach to something, and this will be the power to attach to one of those fuse relays that I just showed you. Not relay, but the little fuse tap. Alright, I know it's noisy, but nonetheless, something's better than nothing, right? There's the end product. So it looks like a nice little loom harness, and again, I can just plug this end in. I can just simply maybe coil it up however I need to and route what I need to. Alright, so where I made the connections, I just wrapped some red electrical tape around it so it doesn't touch anything. Yeah, that might be the jankiest thing I've done on the entire car, and it's not even, I don't even want to say janky, but I probably could have added a different connectors, maybe plastics, that would have just, that would alleviated doing that, but my ultimate goal was making it so that's removable. So what I ended up doing is I tied, for my switched ignition, I tied the wideband, I think, into the washer fluid motor, because I don't have a washer, I'm not going to run window wipers or a motor. And I tied the oil pressure sensor, I think, into the rear defroster. The car is, again, it's going to be garage kept. I'm not driving it if it's raining. It is what it is. It's my second vehicle. So then you can see I kind of just tidied everything up there, some zip ties, just that way nothing was, you know, when you go to put your foot on the brakes or the gas, nothing's going to be in my way. So I need to tidy up down there, but the wires are out of the way. See that it's booting up. Lights work. Or brush is not going to do anything. It's got a 12-volt source, but it's not going to do anything. The sensor's not plugged in the back of the motor yet. So, all right, so here's the end product. This wire here is the O2 wire that I was going to tie in. I changed my mind, so I'll probably end up just routing this in and just tying it off to something. So the harness, as you can kind of see, I pretty much reloomed it all. Looks all a little snazzier. Extended some lines. Took the Xenocron harness. There may be other ones out there. This wire with the plug that little connector that I added is for the ELD, which I'm going to tie my 5-volt into for the wideband. Here's the extension harness that it comes with. I took the gray wire. That is for the narrowband that I will be running also. Here's the VTEC pressure switches. I tied them in together, the oil pressure and the VTEC switch itself. Added a ground there just to plug right into the thermostat. All right, so here's the other wires. We're gonna tweak them now. Here's the one going into the wideband. Here, the gray one is the actual wideband signal going to be coming in. This other attached harness right here is the one that plugs into the PLX coming from the gauge. As you can see, this is the TX that goes into the little box, and here's the plug that goes in it. Normally, it just comes with these two black wires attached to it. If you can see, they're black. And I added two grays. So the two gray wires, if you notice, one's got a white piece of tape I just put on it. That's actually the narrowband input, and the other one's going to be the wideband output. So if you follow it, I added two plugs on the other side. Same thing with the tape. That way I can plug those into the wires of the actual harness that I just wired up, so they'll get DCU, get the signal. All right, it's kind of dark again in the garage. One of the ballasts blew again. I got to figure that out. But so that's what the motor looks like currently. Overall, I'm really happy how it came out. I took the plug wire cover off right now for the time being so I can, you know, do some stuff. It's got oil. She's got oil. She's got tranny fluid. It's got coolant inside of it. It's pretty much ready to go. Catchcan came out. The whole bracket, I think, came out real nice. See, I kind of rounded the edges as opposed to the square that you saw earlier in the video. Overall, I'm real happy with how everything looks. Kind of just doing an alignment by eye for the moment right now. Until I get a shop to deal with it. I still gotta get the car registered. I ended up building a bracket that mounts to the factory ECU location that holds the fuse box, and I put the PLX wideband on some Velcro and put it up underneath the dash. So the ECU and such, you probably won't be able to see it, but it's way too dark in there right now. It's just kind of sitting there. Seats are in, batteries rigged up, fuel pump primes, everything's cool. This is gonna be way shorter, this end part that I'm talking about right now, than usual. I ordered some 310 billet mounts for the hood. Trying to find the old ones wherever they're at in the garage right now. I don't know, but nonetheless, they came in. Could not put the hood on the car. I'm trying to test fit to see if I got to cut the webbing underneath it or what we got to do, but they gave me them for Honda Accord. They responded really quickly. They're mailing me out new ones, and we're currently able to ship them, you know, the old ones. Hopefully I don't got to touch the hood, or maybe just minimal trimming so I can just put the hood on there. If the hood does not fit on the car, I think my option is I'm going to try to grab a one of the JDM hoods that fits a US front end, which should clear, and maybe the carbon fiber shouldn't look that bad, I don't think, with the rest of the car. I mean, she's coming together. I took the fender off in hope that once this car's driving, I can find a place maybe a little easier for someone to adjust the camera and whatnot with the fenders off. But when the hood goes on, I will put it all on. I gave it 10 gallons of 93 octane, and that's pretty much it for now. So again, thanks everyone for watching. I hope I get some inspiration to somebody else. I am super stoked. This thing hasn't been driven since 2009. So I'm super stoked, as close as this sucker is right now. I'm like a little kid in a toy factory. I just can't wait. Like, I really just want to drive it. I need to get a license, or I need to get a license plate for it. I need to find the title for the dang thing. It's somewhere in the house. The hurricane documents are just kind of all over the place. I've seen it after the hurricane, so I know I have it. I just got to find it and get it registered. But yeah, that's it. Hood hinges I'm waiting on.
like hood hinges and figure out the hood situation. And then it's tomorrow, obviously, if there's any other kinks or anything else to do with, you know, anything else that goes on. So yeah, so that's about it. So again, everyone, thanks for watching, and tune in next time. She should be driving. I'm super stoked. Can't explain how happy I am.